For Wednesday, January 15th. Our first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from the December 18th, 2024 planning board meeting. And did everyone on the committee have a chance to review, and the board have a chance to review the minutes? Any questions, comments, or anything that you'd like to add? Yeah, okay, well, then it's only to make a motion that we approve those minutes. Teresa, and someone like to make a motion, second Earl, all in favor? Aye, any opposed? Abstained? No? Okay, the next item then on our agenda for tonight is the Wallman site plan. And feel free to step forward.
Good evening, Al LaRue, Van LaRue Associates. How are you?
Good, Al, how are you?
Pretty good. Laura Woolman.
Hey, Laura, how are you?
Steve, she can talk about the proposed house if there's any questions about that.
Okay,
And Steve is here also. He can talk about the barn.
well, there we have it then, so.
It's a single family home on septic.
Mhm.
We did have an issue with the mineral deposits on the septic system. So because they were too high. So we had to add 6 inches to the top of the field to make the mineral deposit below 12 inches, coming out at 15 inches. This is all in conjunction with the health department. So that's been done. The single family home is, you've got some information on that, but storage barn is 40 by 60. The south end of that barn is depressed into the hill about 6 feet. If you take a look at the plan, you'll see on sheet. On sheet 2, you'll see how we've cut out a little spot for that. Now, this building is in front of the main residence. So we had a little bit of an issue with zoning at the time didn't prohibit that. But now there's going to be a zoning change and that sort of thing. So it's the zoning board is leaving it up to the planning board.
You were before the zoning board?
No, they tabled it based on, they said the planning board can make that decision. Because it was in between the change in the code. I think Don should be somewhat aware of that.
Who told you this?
Zoning board.
You went to the zoning board?
No, we didn't go. We submitted, but we didn't go.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, we did, and we got correspondence from them that said
Do you have it?
the plan. I do have it in the folder, yeah.
Let's see it, please. And thank you.
Well, I don't know where it is.
Hmm.
We made submittal before the code changed. And they tabled it.
Do you know anything about that, Brooke? Just,
I believe there was communication with this application of when it had to be due and with the code changing and that they were aware that the code was changing. I don't know if we received application though for the zoning.
Well, we did submit it initially. Because we knew we needed a variance. We thought we needed a variance, but we didn't at the time.
Okay, I would have to go back and double check to see if we did receive an application for the zoning board for you.
Yeah.
For variance.
We did do that, and so we didn't go to put in the zoning board of appeals, but that's where we are. And the correspondence we got, and I just don't seem to have it with me, that they were allowing the planning board to make that decision. I didn't. well, I don't have it, but they wouldn't hear us because the code at the time allowed a building in front of the primary structure. Accessory building in front of the primary structure. And my understanding of it, well, the outcome of that was they would allow the planning board to say yes or no to it. So if that conversation hasn't happened, then we've got a issue right off the bat.
So that is one issue that we're gonna have to that we're going to have to discuss, but let's kind of go through the,
Maybe,
Yeah.
if I can offer maybe a recommendation of the planning board to the zoning, excuse me, to the zoning board of appeals. We don't have any issue going to the zoning board of appeals.
I mean, the law's in place now, it wasn't before, so I think if you submitted your application now with the law the way that it is.
We submitted it before, they didn't accept it because they were changing it.
What I'm saying is, the
Yeah.
law's in place now, it's been
Yeah,
in place
now-
for over a month.
Now
so,
it is in place.
Yeah. I don't have this correspondence and I don't
I
know
don't
what
have
that
the correspondence.
conversation
I
was,
have
so.
no idea, this is the
Yeah.
first I've heard of it, all I know is that what the law is now, they
Right.
need to have a variance from the zoning board before we're able to grant an approval. So
Okay.
that's,
You could
Alright.
always condition it,
we could
An approval on
condition
getting
it,
the
yeah, and we
variance
can,
as
I
well.
mean, that's.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah, because my understanding was that they were gonna let you guys make the decision on it and, but, you know,
yeah, there was no communication,
and I'm surprised by there was no communication, but you know, it's a holiday, it was over the holidays too, so, you know, a lot of things happen, so, anyway, no big deal.
okay, so. And as we're going on here, I'm gonna ask the rest of the board if you have any questions, but the one thing I did want to bring up before I lose sight of it. Is that when this property was subdivided,
Mhm,
it was referred to SHPO.
mhm.
And correct me when I'm wrong here, if I'm wrong. SHPO came back and said, this subdivision does not have an impact on E5 5. Further development of this E5 would require further review of SHPO.
Okay,
So.
so we can go through, do that again, go through the process,
Mhm.
we don't have an issue with that either.
Okay. Would that be, just down, depending on where we get here, would that SHPO, would that be a condition of approval? Or would that have to come, we'd have to come back for that?
I mean, I think since I need to go to the ZB anyway, well,
Well, I know, well, let's see what else we've
Yeah.
got going on here, so.
Well, Sybil's already said it was no big deal, so I think it's just a,
Well, they said it was no big deal when it was a subdivision and there was
Yeah.
nothing being built on the
Yeah, I
property,
know.
so, I mean, we just have to.
yeah,
We have to adhere by what they had said. They said if there was future development that they would need to.
relook at it, okay.
So. Okay. Anybody else have anything that they would like to add to the conversation regarding this property?
We have the comments from 1219, Monroe County Planning Council. And the Monroe County DOT, we don't have any issues with any of those comments. The environmental, board. On 1725 indicated there's a steep slope E5. The site will show that. No issues with any of the other comments. They took over the entire property, so we know exactly where what the slopes are. MRB comments on 17, we responded to, we don't really have any issues with that. I mean, there's some things that we need to do, but, you know, again, it's not there are no deal breakers in that.
Have you, resubmitted the revised site plan yet?
No. We're waiting for this meeting to do, if anything else came out about it, and then we'll resubmit.
Can you talk a little bit about how you placed the house on the lot? What made you place it where you did?
I think Laura can talk
It's the
about that.
high point.
And that was just aesthetics, or did it make your aesthetic? I guess my comment would be if there would be any way that you could rework things so that the barn was not in such a prominent location, that would really help the design of the site.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work with it. This is a steep site, so there's very little area other than that. And that requires some cut and fill to put it there.
It's a beautiful piece of property. It is quite rolling, you know.
Yeah, it's,
So, like, you've got the septic staked out, I see, right?
yeah, oh, yeah.
If there's no, if you do get the variance to have the barn in the front where you have it, if there's no other place to put it. The other suggestion I would have is if the house is nice design, obviously looks nice residential. But the design of the pole barn looks like a pole barn. It looks like more of a commercial structure. If there was a way to design the barn so that it kind of was more in character with the house, that way, you know, they weren't so disjointed. I think that would help.
Okay,
With the design as well. If it could look more like a residential barn, you know, that would help a lot.
that would be Steve.
Yeah, I think that picture you have is just a generic,
So we would have to see something that you really are gonna make it look like, I think, if you did get the variance and it was going to be placed where it was.
Mhm.
I think the way it looks is gonna become important. And maybe some landscaping is also going to become
Sure.
important.
The area above the kitchen and the area above the garage, are those unheated spaces, finished spaces?
Above the garage.
Well, you're showing 2,121 square feet on the first floor. You make no mention of any square footage on the second floor.
Correct,
Yeah.
it's a range. Yeah, that's just aesthetic.
Okay, so there's, what's behind that window? It's not vaulted from the kitchen all the way up to there.
I think I believe the plan gives you the option, but we're planning only to do one story.
Okay, so is there a floor up here?
No. That just be the attic space.
Oh, there will be a ceiling.
Okay.
But then just add it above it. Right?
So basically, it's gonna be unheated space. Is this stairwell that you're showing from the garage going into the basement, or is it going in up to the unheated space?
Basically,
Okay, and you have no access to the unheated space? But for maybe
like a pull down, yeah.
okay, so there's no living space up there.
Yeah.
And is bedroom number 2 elevated? You might see stairs here going up to bedroom 2.
No, the closet.
Okay.
Was tiny.
it doesn't look all that like.
Okay. I was wondering, are you showing where you're bringing electric in? I'm not seeing electric on this.
No, we normally don't. It's, RG&E will do what they're going to do. And so usually they'll just go ahead and they're down the road a ways,
Okay.
you know, so. That's their design. They'll design where they want to go and how they want to go.
I didn't know if you had reached that, point yet.
No, we have not.
One more thing on the pole barn, if when you submit revised drawings for that, if you guys do. If we could have the plate heights and then the roof pitch, so we could figure out what the overall height of the building would be, that would also be.
Okay, yeah, good question.
Are you saying at the time of this drawing, the code regarding a barn forward of the house was not in effect?
It was not, no. You could put a barn in front of the accessory structure, in front of the primary structure. Prior to, 1st of January.
think it's the same day it actually was approved. This drawing is dated December 9th. I think December 9th was the meeting where that law came into effect. So there's real overlap. Definitely, for sure.
Is there to be a walkout?
Anybody else have anything to add?
Not that this is very relevant, I'm just,
We're showing a walkout on the.
okay, I was just wondering, you're showing your gutters going to splash blocks, and this property lends itself beautifully to running stuff to daylight.
Yep,
I would take advantage of getting the water away from the house.
I'm sure the architect, when they're working on that plan, and that'll be a good suggestion. Rather than a vote.
Emilio. Did you respond to your letter?
Yeah.
Did you have any comments regarding their responses?
Not really, I mean, like I said,
Everything looks like.
all the comments were pretty straightforward, yeah, so we'll see what they provide.
Okay.
Do you have a contractor for your construction or the barn?
Not yet. I mean, we have some people we've had estimates too, but we haven't contracted with anybody because we wanted to. Everybody wants this done before, you know, the chicken and the egg.
When you're looking at your barn, make sure it complies with New York State and town amendment code. There's a lot of the pricing out there. Those buildings do not comply with code.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Steve's on it.
He's on it.
Steve's on it. He's got it. He's like, thumbs up. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so we're going to have to reschedule you to come back. Oh,
Sorry, I just have
no?
one other thing. When I say keeping in character with the house. That also, I think, would apply to materials. If you had the opportunity to not use metal. That would help a lot too, to make it feel more residential. Metal tends to look very cold and commercial and just, you know, there's a reason why if you drive down the road and you see a historic barn, why you don't really mind it, because it has that same residential feel. So I guess, well, character would apply to many things, including materials.
Okay, anybody else have anything they want to say? Okay, so we'll have to reschedule you to come back. After the zoning board, and I'm not sure how long it will take for you to get some information from Chippewa. Do you have any idea? I mean, when would you like to be rescheduled for, based on what you know about the time?
What's the next submittal date for ZBA?
For ZBA, I would have to double check. Our next meeting is the 23rd, but we probably couldn't get you on that one. So probably push it off to the beginning, the 13th of February.
So we would probably be late now. For ZBA.
Right around the time, yeah.
30 days, yeah.
Yep.
So we're
So you may
probably
be looking at the 27th of February.
27th of February,
Yep.
which would be 2 weeks from now, which is no big deal. We've already got the application.
Did
So
you
I'm
say
pretty sure,
27th of February or
27th of February, yep.
February? Okay.
can you take a look though and see if you've got that application already there?
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
if
I
you
will.
do, then maybe we can be on the earlier one. 'Cause
Yep,
we-
absolutely,
We've already submitted, yeah, which I believe we have.
for sure.
Okay, just let me know.
Okay.
And then do you have an idea how long Chippewa will take to get you?
They've been pretty good lately. They really have. They've been getting back to us within a couple weeks. Believe it or not, I don't know
Oh,
what. I
Okay,
mean, wow,
that's even good.
it's like, so no, I don't think they're gonna be a whole lot at all.
All right, so would you like to just work with Brooke then regarding the CBA,
Planning
that,
board.
and then she'll get you on the agenda for
Yeah.
us right after you.
We'll see how it all falls,
Right.
you know. Cause I think there's some architectural work that, you know, and we need to do for both the building and the home. So I think there's a little bit of pre-work that you need to do for colors and materials, and, you know, and those kinds of things, so,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So we'll hope that Chabot's really good and gets back to you in a couple weeks and
Yeah.
that Brooke has the application from ZBA for ZBA and you'll get to them and we can get finished up.
We just keep doing it.
Just keep going.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming and visiting.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you for the pen.
Absolutely.
I forgot a pen when I came.
I've done that before too.
Take care.
See you later.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Canfield Vet Dog and Cat Hospital. For a special use permit. How are you? Good. Hi, how are you? So what I understand, and I think what the board understands, is that, the only thing that technically is changing is the business ownership, and everything else is remaining the same. And, yeah, keeping everything just as it is, so, that is very helpful. Okay, so you provided us with a, not with an actual site plan, but with a map of where the house is, or where the building is and where the business is. And some pictures. Okay. Right, so
Yes.
to go, that's what you got, that you submitted.
Yeah.
And it looks to me that everything that we need to address for a special use permit was addressed. You showed the ingress and the egress and just in and out the property, you showed the parking, you showed the refuge, you showed the utilities. The screening and the buffering remains the same, there's nothing different going on with that. The signage, everything else is the same, just that the owners.
That the company philosophy.
30 years, yeah, 25 years. Right, so, okay, so, I'm wondering if anybody from, None? Okay, well, this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing to see if there's anyone from the public that would like to be heard. And if there is, feel free to, come forward. No? Okay, then. Would someone like to make a motion that we approve the, well, someone like to make a motion to close the public hearing? Earl?
Yes.
Yes, we'll close public hearing. Okay, Teresa, everyone in favor? Aye. Okay. And, okay, so now we'd like to make a motion that we, approve the, change of ownership for this special use permit.
Yes.
Are you,
Yes.
are you making the motion to approve the special use permit pursuant to the written resolution?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, I
Okay.
forgot that part. Yeah, would you like to go over the written resolution before we vote on this?
Sure.
Okay, go
You
ahead.
should all have a copy, they have a copyright in front of you. So a number of whereas clauses. The applicant is technically Mendon Village Animal Care PC. They're gonna continue to operate consistent with the historical operation of the property and the business as a veterinary clinic, which has a current special use permit. No substantial changes. Those are all the, both throughout the whereas clauses, and that the board pursuant to this written resolution would make a number of findings, consistent with approval, based on, in large part based on the fact that really they're continuing a historical operation and they're not proposing to change the building or any substantial, changes to business operations, and based on that, to approve the special use permit and the associated site plan documentation. that the existing, which will become the pre-existing special use permit, will be terminated, and this one will take its place. And that they'll need to comply with code as it relates to veterinary clinics. It's essentially
Okay,
a summation of, that written resolution.
thank you. So based on that resolution, would someone like to make a motion that we approve the special use permit for the Canfield Vet Dog and Cat Hospital? Teresa? Earl? Everybody in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Absolutely. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Okay, next would be the Mitten subdivision.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Emails today, back and forth.
Yeah, you know what? And those are my favorite emails, the ones that come after 5 o'clock on the night of the meeting.
How about after 6 o'clock?
Yeah, well, those too. Yeah. But hi,
Okay, it's good to be back.
it's good to see you
Thank you.
again.
I'm very happy to be here tonight. Next month is a crazy. Well, for me.
Awesome.
All right, at the meeting, which was on the 18th of December, there were a number of issues, minor issues raised by the board, which I wrote down because I haven't seen the minutes yet. There may be other things in the minutes that I haven't addressed, but, number one, add the existing house to the plans. Number two, show a limit of tree clearing, which we have. It's actually coincident with the limit of disturbance on the site plan. So we just labeled that as being also the tree clearing limit. I think Earl had a comment about the transformer. We don't know where the transformer is going to go, but I totally agree with you. We'll run one service off the transformer and then split off is what they'll probably do. You also had a comment about the 3-inch diameter water service. Actually, the residence time in that pipe is 1 day. It's a three bedroom house, 330 gallons per day, a 900-foot length of service, 3-inch is right around 330 gallons. So I don't see any problems with residence time and degradation of the water in the line.
I agree with the math. However, that's only theory, and
Well, it's theory. If they use the 330 gallons, if they use 165, it's a 2-day residence time. Which
my
is still
point is the first 20 feet, the water will stay there on the periphery of the pipe, and the water will move in the center. And the resistance, the friction on that pipe, that water's gonna stay there.
Yeah, that's the same,
Okay.
though, in your mains on the street too, so
I know.
I can't solve that.
Are you going to do an easement in preparation for the transformer here?
I don't know where it would be. We're assuming the lines will be where we've shown or
Right,
about
on
where
each
we've
other,
shown.
different lot.
Yeah, we haven't shown an easement yet. We don't know what RG&E will ask for.
All I'm saying is, at some point, you're gonna have to have an easement if they do put the transformer there, just to be prepared for it.
Yep, that's why we left plenty of room there for it too, so understood. But as Al said, you don't get a lot of information out of RG&E at this stage of the game.
No,
It's,
no.
so we do the best we can. Submit the driveway access and maintenance easement for town review. We did that. I'm not sure if Don, if you got a copy of that, we submitted it a couple weeks ago.
I think that goes through the town attorney's office.
Okay.
They're trying to
Oh,
develop
that's right. You're planning
standardized.
boarded. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, that's right. What else do we have? Then we had, I think the remaining things were the EPODs, the EPOD permits. And I believe at last night's meeting, we did receive a nice letter from, or nice minutes from the HPC.
Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
I saw what they had planned to submit back to the town, which was very favorable.
And that was based on, we had presented this plan to them. To show, it actually shows tree clearing limits and, you know, the screening that would be available. So, I mean, I think, you know, we didn't even show the vegetation on the neighbor's property, which is fully tree behind his house. But I think there's plenty of screening to hide those houses from street views, and they seem to be happy with it. Chairman called me up once or twice or sent me emails and he just seemed to be on board, so. All right, then we had the last pod, which
Well, wait a
is,
second, so there too, did you see their recommendations?
yes,
Okay, so during or after construction of the residence on lot one, it is noticed that the existing forest does not act sufficiently as a visual barrier. The homeowner will plant additional trees to fulfill that purpose and function.
no problem with that,
Okay.
no problem with that. The
I mean, I
other
think, I think what you're saying is it's really, you're not going to make enough disturbance to really,
No.
to be.
Yeah, and then what we've shown for clearing, if they can salvage other trees, where we've shown the lawn areas here, they will do that. It's just we're not sure how the grading and the utility lines will work. The other thing I talked to the chairman about was the placement of signage or, you know, any kind of illuminated sign at the street, and we're not gonna get any of that, other than I think the town mandated address sign that needs to be at the street. That's all we're having.
Are you gonna do any of the driveway lighting?
I told them that we would probably have some, you know, post lanterns along the driveway, being their long driveways.
Mhm.
And I said, you know, we can put those on motion sensors or something, you know, and they're gonna be low height, low intensity.
Right.
And
I'm not sure that motion is exactly, I mean, a deer goes by, on go the lights.
Not only that,
Yeah, and if
you're
you're-
driving in the dark until you get very close to the
Yes.
light.
oh, I know.
So
I mean, I think that was the best we could do if they really had a problem with the lighting. We would rather have the lights be, you know,
On a timer.
illuminated, but on a timer, but I don't think they will want their lights on all night long. So,
No, so if they're on a timer from like dusk till,
I mean, they're gonna be low height, low intensity, you know, just the regular post lights,
right.
dark sky compliant. Maybe,
Just the motion thing, well, the motion thing, I thought, you know, you're coming down the road and, you know, you've tried to tell somebody how to get to your house. Right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it doesn't help
yeah.
direct anyone into your house or
Well,
into your
That's
driveway.
a good point about the deer too.
And a
Yeah,
deer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
be flashing on off all night long.
all night long.
You may be as well with reflectors, with the headlights on a vehicle, the reflectors are gonna
Sure.
show up and not bother anyone.
True.
So. okay. Just I wanted to make sure that we discuss. Both of the recommendations from.
Yeah, I think their first comment they made about, you know, the location of this project and the proximity, the street being between,
Right,
you know.
Yeah.
It was all good.
okay.
So just to be clear then, on the lights, is there gonna be they're recommending motion activated, does the board wanna,
I think that's not a good idea.
okay.
I don't think it's a good
Alright.
idea either.
So we're not, okay, and then what about the first the first condition about if it is noticed the existing forest doesn't act as sufficiently as a visual barrier, additional trees will be planted. I don't,
I think we would have to see where, if that happens to be the case. We would wanna,
how do you do that after the fact?
exactly.
Yeah.
And
Right,
it's pretty subjective too.
it is subjective, and I had another, not to change things up, but it kind of goes with what you're saying. When you were last here, your architect said that those woods, there's a lot of dead woods in there and a lot of dead trees, and it's not great forest. So it's kind of like, okay, so if it's a lot of dead wood and not a lot of cover in there, does it really provide the buffer that it looks like?
Yes. Yeah, if you get back in there, I don't know if anybody got out the site, but it's a challenge to walk through that woods, you know, there, you get in and there's a lot of, you know, brush and, you know, brambles to get in, but even after you get in, It's still a struggle. There's a lot of trees, there is dead wood back there, but there's a lot of healthy stuff too.
There are a number of evergreens planted
Out by the street,
by
yeah.
the street. That's a little bit north of this site. Are
No,
those
no, that's this
right
side,
there.
yeah.
I mean, there's gotta be 50 of them.
That's across here. That's a tremendous buffer right there.
Buffer.
Yeah.
And they're talking about
I'm
buffering.
talking between the neighbor and,
Okay, yeah.
and the new work. Because you're within the EPOD, it becomes sort of an issue because I think this condition of being in the EPOD is avoidable. You could move this, you could make adjustments, this could be divided differently. So I'm not convinced really that just because you aesthetically want to place the home there, that's
Oh,
a
there's
good.
a number of other reasons too, with the septic system, which I explained last time.
Mhm.
The lot configuration, having to have a certain amount of frontage, certain amount of width where you can put the house.
Well, in
The
this-
proximity of the wetlands beyond, there's a wetland right here in the federal wetland. We don't have a lot of ability. This is a wetter area back here too.
Mhm,
The septic's needed to be here for this lot
mhm,
and out here, I'm sorry, out here for this lot.
mhm.
We really didn't. I mean, we ran through a number of iterations on trying to make this work. And the other thing we're trying to do is try to preserve an area out here where they can continue farming.
Everything you just said makes a lot more sense to me than the answer I got at the last meeting from the architect, which was, we want to be tucked into the woods. Well, why?
They do want to
You
be,
do want
they
that,
do
But
want
the
it, yeah.
constraints of the site are forcing you to put it where you are, and that's what it sounds like. Not just the
And the other
aesthetics.
thing, we did try to keep it as far away from this property as we could. Yes, we are nicking the EPOD
Yeah.
there with the corner of the house. And again, these are getting pretty close together. It's like 38 acres of land or something. We ended up with the houses being that close because I mean, yes, if we put a house out here, it would have simplified things, but they really wanted to, in that third lot, retain that area for farming. That was
That's good,
one of the goals for one of the sons.
And if this really is good, solid, growth there, and there's not a lot of dead trees there, then it probably would be a good enough.
I think this is a good,
Right. you're
all the
right.
way over there, it's
What-
pretty.
Show that on screen too.
What's the distance of encroachment? Less than 50 feet, isn't it?
The one,
The distance of encroachment into that EPOD.
it's,
It
it
can't be more than
25, 30 feet, something like that, yeah.
So going back to your original question there, how do we go about that? If it looks like there's not enough, who would make the determination?
Yeah,
that
that's
it's not
the
enough?
question I'm asking you. I mean,
Right.
I don't think typically you would examine it up front and determine, put a condition in as to how much buffering is needed. If it-
Right.
Couldn't you just say buffering must remain? And that way, if it's determined that some has been.
It will remain as long as you are there and part of the development, once you're gone,
Yeah.
homeowner's there and the homeowner now sells the property to someone else, there ain't any buffering.
Typically, we're talking about development.
Yeah.
So I think you could say that you could make a condition about the clearing limits to be, should remain as depicted.
I think that's good.
You want to make that a condition? Okay, so we'll add that in there. So we'll say consistent.
It's two houses on a pretty big parcel. What if this were a subdivision with 40 houses and it began just out of reach of the 500 feet? Would we be talking about this?
Well, yeah, this parcel has so many constraints, and I mean, besides all the wetlands, there's some big conservation needs on the parcel as well.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, back here, it's,
Which is this? What does the lime green represent here, the clearing?
no, the clearing is shown on this plan. We've got the clearing limits depicted on this one.
What is this plan showing?
That plan is showing the heavier, the tree vegetation out here in the dark green. The rest, this is a field, this is an area that's been cleared before, I think, and this is the area that we're going to clear for the homes.
So how do we want to word I was looking at this. but-
Yeah,
On this drawing, I think that has to be a bold line, something that's more easily legible on here, because it's kind of, I'm looking around for where's your clearing limits, especially if it's going to be.
We can do that.
Yeah, just make it like a fatter line or something, maybe a different line type or something, so we could read it better. Or whoever's working with the drawing could read it better.
So how about this? The limits of tree clearing shall not exceed those and shall comply with those depicted on the Mitten subdivision plan, all in order to preserve visual buffering. Is that, I can't see the plan, so.
To be honest, this is more clear than the plan.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing, I was reading this as lawn area and this is forested area, correct? So that's essentially what you're looking at. This is the limits of disturbance for the trees here.
The dark green,
Yeah, this is the limits right
is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
dark
as
green.
Teresa
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought what
Yeah.
school looks
Yeah.
like, yeah,
The only area we're clearing is right here.
yeah, okay. So how about we'll say consistent with the EPON 5 permit plan, this one here,
That's what's that,
this one, yeah,
this one here.
yeah, the colored one.
But
Yeah,
are we talking about buffering because of this EPOD? If this house was 30 feet further back, would we not be having a discussion about buffering?
we wouldn't have to because it's not within the EPOD, the way I see it, because it's in the EPOD, we have to talk about it, I think.
Yeah, I think we're.
Because I hope we're not at a point where we've got to plant trees in front of every house that goes up.
No, but we're.
To hide it.
Oh, no, it's because of the EPOD, the buffering,
But
the buffering requirements, you know, the neighbor, I'm sure would like some buffering as well, leave the vegetation.
and moving at 25 or 30 feet is, I'm just asking, I don't know, what is it?
It puts it 25 or 30 feet closer to the neighboring house. On a 38-acre parcel, you're gonna have two houses tucked together.
Well,
Because
what if both were to be moved?
I
30?
can't, there's a federal wetland immediately
Yeah, that's what I was
west.
thinking, I was asking you, but it's
Yeah.
a lot of constraints
Oh,
that you
terrible.
just described.
I mean, it's barely in violation.
What we thought.
I mean, I hate to, that's just my opinion. And furthermore, and I don't mean to just play devil's advocate here. It happens to be in back of a house that's smack dab in the middle of the EPOD.
It's a historic home, right? Is that-
No,
that is
no.
not, so-
I could, yeah, I just go on record that I'm struggling with, having an issue with it. I just don't, but.
Okay. Anybody else have anything that you want to add or subtract? No, you're pretty good. I do wanna, just ask everyone if they, have, reviewed the letter that, the neighbor had sent. And, we don't really have to discuss it. I just want to make sure that you all read it and that you're all aware that, of the letter. Presented it to us at the, last meeting. This application is a public hearing, so is there anyone from the public that has anything that they would like to add to our conversation? Nothing?
You want to talk about the other EPOT?
What other EPOD?
The waste, the
Oh, yes,
waste
the
stuff.
waste. You know,
I don't want to talk about it.
go ahead, talk about the waste
There's not
one.
much to say. After
There's
three
not
months,
much to say, I think that's why I get like,
Can I briefly mention one thing I realized? If the resolution, is contingent on abiding by the, or this plan should be part of the formal submission, or the final submission, correct? Want to make
Yes.
sure it ends up in the correct record.
however you want to do it. I mean, I can strengthen the line weight on this drawing so it's more, discernible or
I mean, both ways work, but I think
whatever.
whichever way needs to just be.
The building of this one. So it probably makes more sense to reference that that's one drawing. If you
Yeah.
get that.
Yep.
And my.
It's just convenient sketch to look at.
Yeah, and it's nice
As long as
because
it's
the,
on there, and you're comfortable with those clearing limits, that'll be sufficient for construction.
This plan was submitted. Did the EPC, HPC see this or no?
Yes.
Okay. So, just to be clear on a couple things. Before we get to EPOD 6, EPOD 5, the board. Doesn't want to go with sort of the after the fact, let's look and have more trees, because then. That requires someone to make that subjective determination for the fact. And the board is comfortable with establishing the limits of clearing.
Yeah,
In the
because they've established them and we can visually see where what is going to be disturbed and is disturbed.
So because we're not going exactly with what the HPC is recommending, we need to elaborate on that. And just based on what I heard just now, please advise if this is the correct elaboration that I'm hearing, because I'm trying to put this in the resolution. That is a condition of approval for EPOD 5, the limits of clearing shall be limited as set forth in the submitted EPOD 5 permit plan. The same in order to act as a visual barrier as called for by the HPC, and as an alternative to the HPC suggesting that additional trees be planted if there is not a sufficient barrier. With such alternative being preferable and chosen given that the forest is currently existing and the limits of clearing have been established by the EPOD 5 permit plan.
I thought we said that we would refer to this plan and not the,
Yeah, I think,
not the color rendering.
yeah, I would agree that it's probably better ultimately just to refer to the singular site plan.
Okay.
Maybe we delineate,
What's that plan
five
title?
on this plan.
Site plan S1.
This is really.
Ask
no
that
problem.
one.
Yep.
It's on there.
Well, it's a general area.
Oh, you're saying for the,
But here, yeah, can you like run your finger across, is it this little dash line here, this little dotted?
Well,
dot?
yeah, we've shown the limited
It'd be nice to have
disturbance
some
right here.
bold-
This is for grading, and that would be the
here.
tree clearing limit. As we go around.
Maybe you could just offset this line and make it a different line type and folder, and then label it separately.
Yeah, we can do that. Again, we'll show that, because outside the forested area, really, the limited disturbance is not the same as tree clearing.
Right,
Because we're not clearing, so,
and then the only other suggestion for this drawing is this really should, this cloud line here, that really isn't there anymore, right? Because you're clearing all
it
that.
won't be when we're done.
Right, so I would maybe show those dashed or just trim it out because it's not going to be there eventually, right?
It will,
Yeah, so maybe if you could maybe dash it or just trim it out altogether because it won't, it's a little misleading. It looks like it's all forested there, you know what I mean? Or you could probably just take that same cloud line type and just do this. That probably is the most clear way of showing it because it looks like the edge of the forested area.
So if I replace the reference to site plan S1 instead of this,
Then,
that
yeah,
makes
I
sense.
think if he makes those changes, that this is where they're gonna be building off of anyways, but.
So
Okay,
how are you gonna, you'll have to add about, delineating that up with a
Modification,
With
I
the
guess,
modification.
as described, I don't know.
Are you gonna have any dimensions on that limit of clearing?
you're just darkening the line, right?
So,
we
I don't know
don't,
if you wanna
Or are you going to stake
There's other-
the limits?
So it looks forested where it's not. It just looks like
Trying to think
there's
how they
a-
wind up.
it's not
doing
drawn
it.
right.
Code enforcement has no way of knowing where he is when he's out there.
Yeah, it's.
Could I go on this?
Yeah. Good, great. I'm not sure how the best way to do it is, you know, he's gonna have the house and he could measure some
Right. But
dimensions off
you
it.
need them to mention that.
I could show him this plan is getting awful busy right now,
Yes, it is busy.
but
I think that would just make it look clear. That's all you would have to do is just take that out and then just continue that line type across and then you can see
we'll
that.
call it tree clearing them.
Yeah, I think that's, and then you can label it. Give it its own label, maybe.
I mean, dimensions are tough because it's an abstract shape. But I mean, staking it out and agreeing upon that stakeout at the start might be the easiest way. Rather than trying to keep track as you're clearing and during inspections, if it gets staked out, everyone agrees upon the stakeout.
Do we want to say that, stakeout?
I like that idea, yeah. That
Where?
makes sense.
The whole, all of it, or just in a certain area?
Well, just where the trees are being cleared.
I mean, ultimately, the eastern portion of the clearing is the most important because that's the portion in the EPOD, that's the
Correct.
portion facing the buffer.
Right. Yeah, that could be a condition, just that the tree clearing be staked out prior to
And
Construction.
construction.
agreed upon with code enforcement. Just make sure they have buy-in, they agree. That way it's easy to track throughout.
The building inspector maybe? Okay, here's the condition down below that I was gonna, based on what we're talking about. The limits of tree clearing shall not exceed those and shall comply with those tree limits depicted on site plan S1, which limits shall be clarified as set forth at the planning board meeting to the planning board chair satisfaction. All such that tree clearing shall not occur outside of such clearing limits, the same to be staked out prior to construction to the satisfaction of the building inspector, all in order to preserve visual buffering.
That's good. Only one other thing, maybe, would you want to add a date to site plan S1 dated?
If, I mean, it's gonna be changed though,
Over change?
yeah.
I mean, ultimately it'll come for review and signature, correct?
Yeah.
So I'll make a note to make sure that I double check that as well.
Good.
Okay, now we need to talk about EPOD 6.
EPOD 6, yes, after the meeting, and thank you at the last meeting for enlightening me, because I wasn't aware that this was a real
It was an
mess.
issue.
So anyhow, I did speak with Chris Castman a couple days later on the 20th. And he was tremendously puzzled. I mentioned in your code, there's some kind of a form evaluation form. He knew nothing about that. He's never seen the form. I said, can you try to track it down and send to me? He couldn't find anything. He doesn't know what that form is. He's very much aware of these waste sites, and I think he's dealt with this issue before. So he did, I sent him an email explaining why I didn't believe there were any issues with this project within 2,000 feet of I think it was mainly a brush and tree burn pit back when. And he agreed. He says, I'm not aware of any problems with this. He did everything he could do. He had the Environmental Management Council involved, and I don't know if you saw the latest email from them,
Yeah.
from Chris. They kind of bailed on, not giving any support. So Chris sent an email earlier at 4:51 saying he agreed with what I put in my email to him, and he's comfortable with the construction. Obviously, during construction, if anything is discovered during an excavation.
Right.
We've got to alert the DEC and the health department, which we would do anyhow, if anything was found.
What about a condition where upon having an excavator there, he goes over to that with the appropriate people present and sticks a shovel in the ground and turns it, you don't know if there's bodies or asbestos or.
No. Bodies?
I think, The,
Well,
I hope you're wrong too. You have inside info?
So this EPOD isn't necessarily that we're in a this waste disposal site, it's that the site is within a radius of
Yes.
one.
yeah,
So there's not necessarily a singular spot for the excavator to go and say, this corner is the waste
Okay, I
disposal
thought it was
site.
an example.
No, it's kind of funky. There's, I believe it's to the north somewhere. There's
Yeah,
there's
just-
an old burn pit, and being within a radius of that triggers that, so it's not exactly
Okay.
test pit here and we're good. And like you said, it's, if you discover any hazardous things, regardless of the project or where we are, that triggers DOH and
Sure,
DEC.
that could be anywhere, even if you're not in an EPOD, so yes, we would do that, it's a requirement. And we'll be digging, we've got a lot of utility trenching to do within this 2,000 foot buffer area, so. If anything is discovered, the appropriate authorities will be notified and brought up there. And do not anticipate anything.
so I've added a reference, given this information, and if the board wants to include this reference, my draft suggestion is to add a reference to this language that we received today from the Department of Public Health. Just getting this, when I got here, I spoke to the chair about this, to update the resolution. If the board wanted to move forward tonight, they could, if they felt it appropriate. So I updated the resolution, again, subject to your review and approval, to say that whereas the application has been referred to the Monroe County Department of Public Health in accordance with the amended town code as it relates to EPOD 6, and the DOH has determined in some that if, and now I'm basically just quoting their language here, in some that if suspicious and or hazardous material is encountered during the construction, all work shall stop and the DOH and the DEC shall be notified, and that work shall not resume until developers outline appropriate action for dealing with the waste material and the development plans are modified as may be necessary. Just taking that right out of their letter here. And then the resolve has been updated to say resolve that as it relates to EPOD 6, based on the response of the DOH, as set forth herein, an EPOD permit is issued conditioned upon that, and then I recite that language again. If suspicious and or hazardous materials encountered during construction, all work shall stop and the DOH and DEC shall be notified, and work shall not resume until the developer has outlined appropriate action for dealing with the waste material and the development plans are modified as may be necessary. Make sure I'm not missing anything. And then added that condition in as an additional condition to comply with, as well as a condition, part of the conditional approval. And then we also added the condition in for the EPOD 5 on the clearing limits that we've already went over. And then a reference to making sure that easements are recorded and filed has been updated as well.
Anybody else have anything that they would like to add to the conversation before we listen? Okay, so would you like to just quickly go over the first part of your resolution? Just to, sort of, you know what I mean, so we know what we're voting on.
Yeah,
And the
do you have that in
conditions.
front of you outside of the revisions we just talked about?
I don't have them in, because I don't
Oh.
think, yeah,
Do you want to? Can you get it?
I can put it right now.
Can you?
Yeah.
You want me to send it to you?
Yep.
Yeah, this is,
Do you have anything in the resolution about the driveway easement and maintenance agreement?
yes, I believe so. And that's, the easements get referred to,
You had sent a draft of that, correct?
I did, yeah, now we're updating it. So I'll send it to you right now. You guys will want to look at this one because it's a little longer, if you don't have it. Did you already open and close the public hearing on this?
It's open.
Okay.
Should we close it right now?
Did you
Or-
invite people to speak? I don't
I
remember.
did invite people to
Okay.
speak. I'll give anybody one last chance if they'd like to. And then I guess I'll make a motion.
Did you send it over
Person would
now?
like to make a motion to close
Yeah.
the public hearing. Okay, anybody want to second that? Charlie, okay, all in favor? Okay, this public hearing has been closed.
Sorry, it's still sending. Now it's out. So we're gonna have to wait for that to be printed.
Oh, because, okay,
But I think if you want to move on to the next one, well, I know you have an informal thing while we wait.
How about seeker? Is that part of the resolution too?
It's in the resolution, yeah.
okay, I guess we will move on, just hold there, Mr. Courtney.
Oh, I think we gotta move on to the next
Yeah.
application.
Don't go too far.
No,
away.
no, I'm just going back to my seat.
Okay, get back in your seat.
Sit quietly.
And we're going to have, a discussion by, is that we say your last name, Brandon? From RG&E, regarding some changes. That they're going to, changing.
How's the board tonight?
So,
So,
how you doing?
before we start our discussion, I want you to know that there's, because there is not a formal application in front of us that's been reviewed by our engineer or by our attorney. This is really just information that you're providing to us, and we are not able to make any comments and recommendations until after you submit your.
Application.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I could start, how familiar is the planning board with a city gate station?
Pretty, yeah,
Pretty familiar?
Yeah.
That's like a substation
Yeah.
for natural gas?
Yep.
Okay, just to let you know that, obviously, RG operates, Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 different city gates that feed the greater Rochester area. Approximately. Practically 4, and this is one of the critical city gates that we operate to serve, a large portion of the.
Yeah, I'd say
Of
this
our
one,
customers.
this one has the capacity. I'm Steve Lawler from.
Hey. How are you?
I'll be the engineer responsible for the technical portion of this project.
Okay.
For our team. This station, yes, it's one of our major stations. It probably has a capacity to, I'd say at least half of our customers in the Rochester area. So it's a very important station, and it's at a time in its life that we need to upgrade it. So.
Yeah, and that was sort of the reason I caveated that, is just to let the board know on the importance of some of the rebuild that we're doing there. Just for a backstory, give you all understanding of what we're doing
Okay.
and
And
the
so,
importance.
okay, so you're making, so this is technically an upgrade project.
Right,
Okay, and what exactly are you, I mean, I see you've got it written.
yeah, so we'll let Brian walk through the
Hey, would you like to just speak to?
Yeah.
Walk through the plan. So, again, it's a Benning Gate station, so it's an interconnect with National Fuel. So the station actually has 2 halves of the property line right in the middle. Position wise, New York State Thruway's here, 264, Mayberry residence, Canfield Road. So the access comes off of Canfield Road. There's about 500 feet to a security gate. Entering the station, National Fuel is a transmission company, so they operate the Empire Pipeline. And then RG is the LDC local delivery company for Rochester area. So this project will actually upgrade all of the site infrastructure, the piping, heating, regulation, polarization. There's a computer that controls it, right down to even the emergency generator. We're gonna replace basically all the infrastructure. Some of the site improvements, would be the perimeter fencing. The intent here is take down the perimeter fencing, replace it. The fencing was around, I think, 93. There's been a lot of changes to requirements for station security from both transmission company and the LDC. So we're trying to merge their 2 standards for a single that meets the criteria for both. So inside this building, I did try to put some photographs together. So I think the first. So the picture has 5 little individual structures. So there's the barn structure, kind of familiar structure that comes up the thruway. That actually, reading through a lot of history, I didn't realize that barn wasn't part of the original development plan. That was actually part of a noise mitigation from the neighbors across the street when the station was first started. I guess there was a lot of noise issues, so there was a lot of modifications made to the building, or
The building was added, modifications to heaters themselves. There's quite a back history on heaters there. Yes. In 2008, actually, here before the board and actually had the approval for the pressure regulation. There used to be all buried regulators. It was just a maintenance headache. So that equipment was bought upgraded about 17 years ago. As part of the station, there's also a district regulator just outside the fence line. And we're trying to make provisions while we're before the board, just so you know that a future project will be to decommission that regulator station, actually bring it inside of the new station fencing. And then we have the computer building, that's a little 12 by 12 structure. And then the last one is the management odorizer building. So that's actually a precast building, it holds about a 2,500 gallon odor tank. And there's that system's had its issues over the years, during fill operations with vending, issues, complaint call outs and stuff like that. So the upgrade really hopefully taking care of all of this. The 4 RG structures will be raised. We've already done the regular material supports. There's no reports, so there's no issues with asbestos, lead, PCBs, or any other filters materials there.
And so all these 4 buildings that are here are going away.
Correct.
Okay,
So
and this will be decommissioned and moved
inside,
into the new, okay.
that will be a separate project to move that into the station.
Well, it'll be a separate project, but done at the same time.
Yes.
It'll be performed this year.
Okay.
Yeah, the intent would be to perform everything all in 2025.
So the second image, there's a very large heater. So this is actually inside the existing barn at the Mendon station. So this is that first critical piece of equipment that RG operates. It's called a water bath heater. It basically heats the natural gas up before we take the pressure cut. Through the process of regulation, we lose a lot of temperature, so we gotta make sure the gas is warm before the pressure cut to avoid freezing, frost up, causing the water mains to recross. There's a lot of issues, so. The first critical step is to heat that gas. So these heaters, again, very large history to those. There's a little picture up to the side just to give you a sense of scale. Person that's there. The mufflers and stacks on these units are approximately 33 feet tall. So the ridge line on the barn is 34 feet, and I believe the top of the cleat are about 41 feet. So currently the barn wouldn't meet the town standards for like height restrictions for zoning. The heaters, again, they're out of date, they need to be serviced. The new heaters that we put in, they're a natural draft, so these have a 5 horsepower blower on every heater. That's what produces a lot of that sound, vibration. I think we have 150 amps of power that run to these, all the motors, the disconnects, all of that. The new ones are all natural draft, so there's no blower on it. They operate at 24 volts, so a much quieter unit. We did a project about 2015.
Yep.
Over in the town of Chili, and we replaced, or we installed the heaters, which next picture is the town of Chili State Station. So Mendon is the Empire East Gate Station, Chili is the Empire West Gate Station. They both come off the same lines. With that, they can feed 100% of RG's customers.
So these heaters don't need to be inside the structure?
They prefer not
The
to.
purpose is not to actually ever
Yeah.
install it inside a structure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of issues like inside the building. For example, we have to have gas monitors inside the building and gas wants to elevate.
So you want to offer dissipation?
You want, yeah, dissipation. Here, again, they don't like to be inside, and actually with all the new energy laws, just the makeup they're required to run their 10 million BTU boilers, it's massive. So these don't even meet the codes like intake air. So the goal is to install the heaters outside. These stacks, again, the heaters are gonna be very similar to these, actually. Stack for the different vendors or contract,
It's a
right?
different vendor, they're slightly larger, not by much. The MC has dimensions of the heaters. The stacks are about 18 feet, 18.5 feet tall. Very similar to what's shown on this photograph.
The ones in the photograph, those are actually 22 feet tall, so the new stacks will be about 4 feet shorter. The expansion tanks are about identical at 14 feet. The top of the bath area is about 10 to 12 feet, so again, almost an exact mirror image of what these heaters look like is what we'll be installing at the Mendon station.
What are engineers? Just curious, probably pretty extensive electronic surveillance.
Yeah, so as part of the station, we will be updating all the security, which is why we want to do the perimeter fencing, and then the buildings get additional security all around it as well. When we actually built the Charlie station, the board had asked us to build barn structure to replicate what existed here in Mendon. So we did our best to use the shapes, roof lines, to actually match the Mendon barn. This barn is much shorter. Again, we try to make sure we stayed in conformance with the zoning regulations. So our roof line is typically about 30 feet tall. And the top of our cupolas are at 35, which I believe 35 is your maximum height for your ordinance. So one item is, we need to also take this barn down is, we first looked at, can we salvage the barn and try to reuse it? But to try to decommission and remove the heaters, we have like 30,000 gallons of glycol to remove. And then how do we get this heater off the foundations and reinstalled? So because we have a very aggressive construction schedule, our intent is to actually take the barn structure down. We're gonna clean the floors, we'll put a epoxy, like bridge stack finish over it to make it skid resistance, because you're going from an indoor floor, it's gonna become an outdoor surface, so we'll make sure it has slip skid protection. We did that very successfully, I think, in the mechanical station. And then we got assemble these heaters, the crane set up to be able to, the empty weight of the remaining components is about 40 tons. So
What I'm looking at right here,
with the heaters, correct? So we have massive foundations. Again, we're trying to look at how can we accelerate our schedule. So by the time we tear the barn down, take the heaters down, our heaters should be fabricated. We can load the heaters out, pre-transit service, and set the new heaters right back on the same foundations. And that saves us all the construction time of having pouring foundations, wait for 75% cure strength. So it just helps accelerate our construction schedule.
and then all this gets scrapped or recycled.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. I think we left that in the contractor of how to dispose, but
We'll take care of the
glycol.
And so this, you had said that this was built around for these heaters because of the noise.
Correct.
So you don't anticipate the new heaters are going to have that same level of,
So the ones at Chi, we have a conversation like this next to them. Yeah, they're different type. The heaters at the Mendon station currently are 4-strip. There's, like Brendan mentioned, there's motors on there that are constantly running and blowing. They're loud. There's mufflers on top of the discharge stacks to abate some of the noise. The new ones we're buying, we bought like Chi, don't have those issues. They're much quieter. And it allows, and put them outside, they'll have enough natural air for the combustion. We won't have issues with an enclosed building, gas leakage, entry from birds, there's a whole host of issues we're avoiding by putting the heaters outside. The heaters also require extensive maintenance. There's an area in front of the heaters, because they can actually unbolt the heater. It's called the process called with a big loop of steel. They can actually pull that out to do an inspection. Likewise, the fire tubes go in right back around. Those can be pulled out the back. So we're also trying to make sure that we have adequate real estate front and back to be able to disassemble, service these units. But I think in the 30 years roughly that they've been there, they have not have needed that action. That's our company issue. But that's one of the reasons why the barn has the sliding doors on both sides. So that if they had to work on those, they could pull the fire tubes out the front. And this side here's like pull outside, but with action.
You said you replaced 150 amp with 24 volts.
Correct.
Lot
better
over my place.
It's a lot better technology. Again, a lot of it is because of
And that's what power your fans?
No, there's
Just electronic.
There's no fans.
Just the control system to operate
Okay.
the fuel train.
The burner management system,
If you look at the side of it, there's a little blue top for traffic. That's actually the air intake for the lower motor.
It's a big motor on there.
You can see like all the fuel train that's on the side of it, the two very large electrical connect switches. And if you look at the picture from the side station, you have this one little folder box, about probably 12 by 12, and it has all the lines of these around the
Technology design that's greatly improved.
How long will it take to do this project?
Our goal is to
is to decommission the existing station in early May. And we'll, I think Brandon will go through all of the steps that we're gonna go through for the rebuild, and then from that point till probably our goal is the end of October, to have everything built, tested. And then at that point, we'll have, the station commissioned, and we'll put it back in service.
Over that time, the operation will cease.
Correct.
Totally cease,
Right.
and shut down.
Yep, and that's a favorable time for us to do the work, May till October, because our load is significantly less. Our other stations can handle the demand of the system during that time period. So we're shooting to do the work during that time period.
Using outside the heating season.
Yeah, outside the-
This then now is going to be primarily outside.
correct, except for there's a few new buildings and there's.
Yep. So then on the second colored sheet, our new site plan. The gray area where the barn structure was, so it's a little bit smaller because there's actually stone inside the building, so we're going from a 3,500 square foot barn to about a 2,800 square foot pad with 2 tiers on each set. We'll have a new barn.
I'm sorry, excuse me, those heaters will be positioned, if you look at the child eye, they're kind of, they're left, right, these will be positioned, those stacks will be towards the throughway side. And they are. Yeah, they can't see that, in the building, but if you can picture those heaters in this photo. This photo, the black stacks will be towards the throughway side. And
And there's only two,
just to give you an idea how they're positioned.
so the heaters are set that way, we have. The ends and
Gas
outs.
coming in and out on the north side, those stacks.
They'll be positioned the same way they are now.
Yeah,
So then from.
but they can't.
They can't see that, right, but
It's all,
yeah,
So the height of the stacks again, we were at
18.
18 feet, 5 inches or 6 inches.
Yeah.
That first ridge line on the barn is approximately 17 feet, so in the photographs of the barn, we're only as high as that first ridge, so. And again, the top of the barn is 34 feet to the ridge line, 41 feet to the cupola, so the stacks are gonna be half height of that existing barn or less. It's much shorter.
You're talking.
okay.
So.
Are you familiar with the site, how it sits way back down, like if you're looking from 64, it sits down in there quite a ways.
But I was just gonna say, you want, you know what? I was
Yeah.
gonna say, you want to pull it up on there?
Yeah.
It's right across. from
Thinking
the-
Mhm.
Do you know what you're gonna use for your plants?
Otherwise, you're gonna be seeing.
Yes, so it's actually in the
Tanks.
30-point photograph, and you can see there's a picture of that, that's why I took it one picture, it's kind of covers many aspects.
Well, the fencer now does not even come close to any security, it's very short, I don't even think there's barbed wire around it, so we'll put something like that.
So this is something that shows, the heaters. This barn at Charlie is extremely close to actually what is being proposed. So the barn here at Mendon will contain all of our pressure regulation equipment, all our irrigation equipment, and it will have all the sensors in it as well for controlling the station. So that's how we eliminate our overbuilding. We combine those two uses, motorization and regulation together. So
Is that an RTU building?
the RQ will be a smaller.
Yeah. What number is the barn? On your key here,
What sheet?
the construction, the proposal, the site plan.
What was that plan?
2, the regulation building. Okay, thank you.
And 1-3 is the RT building.
Yeah, so once put the.
I see it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, accidental. So the new barn, that will be approximately 36 feet wide by 50 feet long. Again, bridge line would be 30 feet, top of the cupolas would be 35, again, staying within your ordinance. So it brings the profile down and it shrinks, the barn area by almost 50% over what is there today. On the north side of that, we would have a shed roof, just like we do at the child life station, and then we'd have our overland tank underneath that, has secondary containment. Then from there, the only other structure that would be built would be the RQ building. We're actually replacing that back on the existing concrete pad and foundation where it was,
We're cleaning, so it's.
Yep, and then between us, National Fuel actually has a small building, I forgot to include
This is
that
what
in
the
our
fuel tanks are now.
site summary,
So you-
that they're gonna remove that structure, so it's both control valves.
Uh-huh.
And it gives the transmission company ability to control how much
Instead of
gas
that.
RG takes in case they try to exceed their daily
Yeah.
maximum delivery.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's why they. That's all done now with electronics by the computers.
And so what about, so obviously now the tanks are contained in this, looks like a historic barn, right? Very pleasing to the eye. Well, depending, I guess. But now we're gonna just have tanks out there. And it is, you can see that barn from the road, so I'm assuming we're gonna be able to see these tanks from the road also.
There'll be some limited visibility and well, I put in the application, I just drove through, trying to look at some view shed areas. So I think the first one I went over to was off of, West Bloomfield Road. So that was, we're sitting on top of the bridge over the thruway and looking at the stations over 2,000 feet away. So we really had to zoom in to be able to see, again, the barn structure, the regulation building, organization building, so. From
That's
that
the
road.
overview from the
Very
freeway, right?
No, that's pretty, yeah, it's from,
So the Route 64, I went to the south side, there's a farm access, it goes down to the egg fields over there. And that's, distance was approximately 600 feet, and that area, again, zooming in, you know, where the barn is located, there's actually a pretty fair stand of trees across there. There's some gaps into it, but again, our new heaters would only extend to the height of that.
what do you think the grade change there is, Brendan, from the top of that road? Where our foundations are, I bet
64 down is probably 12, 15 feet.
or more. Maybe, it's significant. It sits down in there quite a bit.
The reason I asked about the fencing is because I was wondering if maybe for a portion of the fencing, it could be an opaque fence. Or maybe even something in front of your security fence that could look. Kind of mask that. Yeah.
We actually proposed for the town of Chile in our applications, we actually have like a 12-foot cedar stockade fence on two sides of it.
Mhm.
And that would be your view shed at it. And after we built it, that was one of those, I know the board had questions, how do you govern this? And that was like an aesthetic, you know, or you could possibly work with putting some arborvitae or some type of landscape planting.
Arborvitae makes a nice fence.
Except we can't put it over, well, we're secure here, hopefully no deer get in here. So, looking at the landscaping again, we do have pretty extensive landscaping, and that would be the last picture. It's looking from the access from Canfield Road, so that's about 700 feet from Canfield Road to where the barn structure is. And between that, we have original landscaping, well, evergreens are planted, it goes upwards of 20, 24 inch on some of those pine trees, so they do provide a decent visual barrier from Canfield Road.
It's mostly Route 64 that I think we might come into some issues because
Yeah,
that's
Teresa.
been agreed.
Yes,
That's what I'm
here we
seeing
have
when I
this
pull it up.
picture here on 64.
Yes.
See that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And does
Yep.
everybody?
So that's right as you come
everybody
across
see
the
that?
bridge.
Yeah.
Right, so that is
That's
going to
on
be replaced,
64, yeah.
that building's going to be replaced by those tanks,
By the two people.
by two heater tanks. And
Really
so,
You gotta really turn your head at that point.
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's my. Are you, is it gonna impact the drivers? Who's being impacted by that view?
It would just be,
Probably the residents.
I was just gonna say, the residents of Bending Green right across the street.
Yeah, I don't think so, because
Oh,
from
just
that
at their
angle,
approach to their-
from that angle, you're looking from the throughway, from the edge of the bridge.
yeah,
So I think the only residents that would be impacted would be,
right as you drive out, Mending Green is a brand new
Correct.
development.
Yep, it's right here. Yeah, I see it.
yeah, that's the only,
Well, that's Mendon Green, yeah.
Yes.
north of that is the
Just
throughway.
take from the driveway.
I mean, south of it is the
Yeah.
We
throughway.
have 2 houses, 3 houses built there so far.
Mhm.
And again, zooming through, when the leaves are down, you'll see through, and again, our heaters are only up to
That view that
first
you had is coming over the bridge.
break in the gamma road.
What's
I
that?
have a quick question. Is this going to be done in phases or are you doing this all at the same
All
time?
at the same time.
Yeah.
So, is there any way this barn could be in, could be on the existing foundations of this barn and then you swap them? No.
No, because the barn has all of the structural foundations, we need
All
to set the
loaded.
new heaters.
Yeah, we're keeping all that, yeah, good question, huh?
And the inlet piping too, that would be,
Yeah, there's a lot of rules, we have to have a valve,
spacing,
50-foot
yeah.
inlet, 50-foot outlet.
Yeah.
There's separation requirements for regulation equipment. A lot of rules.
Yeah.
And when we do our application materials, the application in 2008 had a lot of things we probably shouldn't have in there, because we have a lot of security rules that from FERC, PHMSA, and.
Oh, as far as-
So we can't put in anything sizes, diameters, operating conditions.
Well,
station.
Go ahead, go ahead.
What might help is a visual study, even if it's just a line drawing that shows the massing of those open tanks.
Okay.
You know, from this Route 64,
Mhm,
from both sides, so.
So
we
the
have
view
some-
shed cross
And if the
section.
grade changes and there's a slope, that would help you.
Site visit.
Oh, there's a big grade change
So
there.
that was a big thing.
Yeah, there's a huge.
Standing
you
out
put
there
trees
with the
in there?
planning board in a site visit might just be also a good idea.
Yes, but also if you could do that study
Yeah,
at the height of someone who's in a vehicle. So set your eye height to like, 4 feet or whatever, if that. And yes, if you're able to see vegetation, that would also help you, because it would show what's obscured.
Yeah, that's where I tried to just take these after we met with Brooke and Corey, and we had a whole day to go walk.
Yeah, these are helpful for this discussion.
Could you put in trees? Is that, or is it too close?
So to the south, you're gonna have a very hard time because Empire has their line and they have an easement, they're not gonna allow us to plant in that. There are some trees that were put along your transmission line, so we could probably put some infill here.
Is that along 64?
And then along 64, we have our fence, so Archie has some policies about no landscaping vegetation within 10 feet of the tree line, so actually. The existing fence line, we're gonna pull that back. I'd rather not trim trees, I'd rather move the fence, so we're gonna pull the fence in to meet their criteria for that 10-foot clearance.
What about where that existing regulator station that we're moving?
So we could possibly do some landscaping there. But we
I
also
mean, this red line.
Yeah, that, and you're way down in there.
No, I know.
What do you?
Also,
But I'm trying to get.
the fence and that visualization would also, with the correct height that you wanted.
Yeah, that's what we want to make sure we show that, so.
Yeah.
They did have a few questions that they code related to the application. And one was station currently has a special use permit, or possibly it existed before the permits were required in the town. So as part of our application. I don't think we have to address it, it's a station is under a special use permit under, I think it's D3 for essential services for public utilities. Then for our security fencing. What we're asking for is 8 feet of chain link with 3 strands of hardware, which gets a total of 9 feet of height. And I believe in your codes, it's limited to 6 feet. There are, I think, some exclusions for athletic purposes to 12 feet. And then someplace else there is another exclusion, I thought. It was under essential services, that was under 260-32. Is about having adequate attractive fences for other safety devices will be provided. And as we're going back to RG&E and national fuels requirements of having 8 feet of chain link with 3 strands of barbed wire. Does that put us in a situation where we need to go to the zoning board? Or?
You should run that through Corey and have him, he's the code enforcement officer,
I
right?
find it
So, see what he,
ludicrous if you were held to that standard to protect critical infrastructure.
Correct.
Exactly right.
yeah, run it through him and have him get his determinations and point you in the right
Yeah.
direction.
Okay, because I've already started drafting a letter of intent for the board. I've tried to explain all the different items. Another item is putting in emergency lighting only. So we have proposed a couple of light fixtures around it. It'd be a light switch on their building, so they have to come in, open the gate, go to the structure, turn it on, not dusk to dawn. I know that was a big sensitive issue with all the neighbors in the past, so there'd be no dusk to dawn, strictly emergency lighting. So if there is an incident at the station, just gives the workers, they like to work and safely work on the station.
Are there any motion lighting? Switching for security. The other thing. I'm not paranoid, but these times are different, right? The more you hide it. The happier the bad actors are to be inside the fence.
So that was actually, I have another station that we're building in the city of Olean, and they've asked us to possibly putting privacy slats up, and we've asked absolutely not. We have other alarm systems.
There has to be some visibility.
Because if you take away that passerby visibility, you're defeating some of the security. So our preference is, to use the black vinyl that helps wash that bright silver into the background. I think it worked out very well at the Chile station.
There's gonna be a trade-off for something that's imperative.
And that's where, again, if the heaters, if that is a major issue, it's doing for landscaping. We do have a gas main that's gonna come up and back here for the new regulator station relocation, so we can't plant right along the fence line there, but we could possibly use some supplemental plantings
Yeah,
outside.
it's not like a high pressure pipeline where we'll need a clear right away. You can work something out.
It sounds like landscaping is gonna be your best bet. To conceal it, because you're right, you want it.
So
So doing it okay.
I would
It's
agree with
really
you,
not
but,
what you want.
but to get the height that you're looking for immediately, it's probably not gonna happen.
It's gonna be problematic to get that immediate cover.
Correct.
You're saying the height will be it'll be too high?
I'm saying planning on that slope, I'm saying planning on that slope. And getting it some sort of evergreen to reach the height to cover,
Up there,
it's gonna be,
so.
it's gonna be challenging.
Be crazy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Is this state right? I don't remember. It's 64.
would be state.
So one thing that we've also tried to do is avoid any other outside permitting, even our paved access road. Excuse me, there is a concrete apron that comes off Campfield Road. So even our paving work, that would, not occur within the county right away for, or town road, Campfield Road. So right now, we have no other jurisdictions like for the town. And there we've identified, we know we need demolition permits. We will need, of course, building permits for our two structures.
Yes.
Then we just were concerned about the fencing part.
You don't want to go to state DOT.
Work through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the time constraints, it's just trying to keep all the, and I know we're at the town line, so I think we have to coordinate with the town of Pittsburgh that's
Pittsburgh.
gone through the
Yep.
application process. So
Yep.
we know we'll go to, DRC for counties from Monroe County.
This is what we're going to see now.
Very similar. Yeah.
What's in there?
The heater will actually contain, propylene glycol. So we take,
There's gases in there now?
well, gas runs through it, so
Through
we
that.
heat the gas. As
How secure is this?
far as,
Terrorism, anything that somebody wants to destroy this from a distance?
It's
So you
just like
got-
any other substation or any other
I
gate
don't
station.
care about any other substation, right here. How secure is this?
Yeah, well, that's what the security fence is for.
yeah, all the stations are.
Say the, security provisions established by National Fuel and RG&E, which are highly regulated companies, probably supersede anything this board would come up with. Those are probably been many, many studies to create those regulations and, those precise security.
Are there
procedures.
printed guidelines that we could see and put in our file?
That may be.
DPS, sure. Right?
We
I think we,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there. I don't know, there might be parts that can't be published, but also if there's general guidelines or ethos behind it, that maybe.
Because I know National Fuel just told us, what do we do? Don't put any critical information there, sizes, operating pressure.
Well, and that makes sense,
And
right?
like,
That,
nothing.
yeah,
Then security, we don't really want to publish what we do for security at the stations.
right.
I'm just looking for something that we've done due diligence in protecting the community. To have something in our file.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, if it was in the town's file, the security plan or whatever, that could be foilable. So yeah, I understand, it's.
Oh, yeah, you don't
It's
want that
tricky.
to happen.
Except for the due diligence.
Well, if you're hearing to the standards.
so I guess I'm just trying to understand, how does that work with other critical infrastructure within the town of Mendon now? Regulator stations, substations, because this is really no different than that, so. I think you'd be setting a precedent possibly with everything else that's being operated in the town, right?
Yes, and you're outside the building. Someone can mess with it any day, really.
Say that one again.
Your gas meter outside your building.
outside your gas meter coming in. That's on the exterior of every building, every home. This is just a little bit larger, not a lot, little lot. I understand what you're,
I
exactly
I
what you're
understand all
getting
that,
at.
I know about the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thinking about one last item on my list was EPOD 09. So it's so susceptible to timing. Yeah, I believe we are like right on the edge of it.
I think we dealt with that one recently.
And I don't think our property is on it, but National Fuel has a problem because they said right now, this area can have access to the detention pond every time it rains. So they have a large operation they're gonna be doing this spring. And their concern is, again, they run with about 2 feet of water in this area. We have proposed to put in actually a storm drainage system around the new building. Picking up the gutter downspouts, because the building will actually have an inlet sump, an outlet pit. And we have basically perforated storm drains down the side just to keep this area dewatered. In the past, the overland vault, if you open that up, there's standing water in that. The other small vaults on site, the groundwater table has been always high and it's on because we're the high point.
Where's the water issue?
The whole site has been very wet.
It's very.
So I know there's farm tile actually in all the agricultural fields. They daylight, one of the bigger daylights up here. So we've actually looked at bringing a small storm drainage system down. And it would then outlet about 150 feet from the road. I want to make sure that I left plenty of room here for the farmers to maintain access into and out of the agriculture. We don't have to interfere with the agricultural operations. But that would, again, allow us to get some gravity drainage around the site just to help keep us slightly drier. With that, there is an opportunity to extend a lateral out to National Fuel. However, I don't know where you guys are. I don't want to actually provide a sewer out to National Fuel. We can address our needs, but we did have a design where they could actually connect the drain out there. But that's part of that EPOD 9, being susceptible soils.
In building, it's not an option because the pad, that one pad is set. The height of that is already what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the operation, that's why there's so many roads around there today, because wherever they drive, they need to have stable stone, otherwise the truck would just think it's wet.
I've been driving by for 40 years, I'll look at it and it's totally different light now.
But that's one of the reasons why you see so
Right.
many roads in stone. So the idea was, we know these roads aided them in being able to put the heaters in, build the barns. We know we're gonna use these same roads to be able to remove those heaters, put the new heaters in. And then we have just a couple of minor modifications to this, change this roadway, up around a little bit tighter to where the buildings are. Join it across and some area around it. So our change in impermeable surfaces is less than 7,500 square feet. So 1,500 of an acre, a very small change in the amount of impervious cover. When it comes to our stormwater, I think we do have the pavement as an alternate in the bid with the contractors. If we wind up not doing all the pavement out there around the station, we do that work. We have about 2.25 acres of disturbance that requires us to do the stormwater pollution prevention plan, file an NOI with the state, weekly stormwater inspections. And then the redevelopment, we might still have to do some post stormwater mitigation. If we do just the relocation of the roads and limit our work to like over the station, our total disturbance is 0.8 to 0.9 acres, to get us below all of the state thresholds. Then it's still more of a question of when the bids come in, how much.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the bids. I mean, pavement, obviously, it's much easier to maintain a facility, when you have pavement than you have stone.
Yep, so I had people pick off and we are doing a full slip right now.
Yeah, that's what I prefer.
Yep. Okay.
For future,
Yep.
for me. Yeah.
I think that's all I had. Talked about fencing. Concrete and paving, storm drainage, emergency lighting.
Brendan, the EPOD 9 is right in the code, so if you want to look into that, it's at 138-55 or the standards.
Yeah.
And then I would recommend you get with Corey any of your questions about code interpretations, heights, all that stuff.
talk to him before you submit, so if you guys are on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make sure to project the E-Pod on there.
Yeah, because it's like. When I looked at that, it's like it kind of leaks over onto RG's property, but from,
I think there's shape files of it.
just looking at the biography, not really.
So Brendan,
It's just.
I mean, from a security fence perspective, I mean, on grid standards are the same between substations and gate stations, right? And so Mendon, there must be substations that we operate in the town that we can look to see what their security fences are, right? And I mean,
National Fuels actually has a foot higher requirement.
Yeah, we're going high.
You're 7
Understood.
foot with eight.
okay,
Yes, so theirs is slightly higher,
Okay.
because we're doing the entire perimeter, I don't want to.
Couldn't do half an inch.
yeah, yep,
You have a topo of this whole area?
We actually developed grading utility complete plan, so the plan was putting on the feeling of the board, trying to get our application together quickly as possible. It sounds like really, just gotta come up with some view shed
Yeah.
analysis, how to do some mitigation
Yeah.
around these heaters.
yeah.
It might be also good for you to mention, from a security standpoint, you don't want to block the view. I know other people might not want to see it, but you want visibility.
We
So
want,
that's
we want,
Something
we
important,
want people driving by, if you see somebody in that station,
right? So,
call.
so
Right.
if you, you know, highlight that in whatever you're writing up for your write-up, I think that would help us.
That and probably the sound, because inevitably when this gets published for public hearing, neighbors are gonna be, oh, well, it's gonna be, if anyone remembers the old one, even though it'll be the same way, they'll say,
So-
oh, it was loud.
Where are we getting these from? QB Johnson. QB Johnson, so QB, I mean, can they provide us with a
Yes.
decibel rating?
Yes, with distances, they can, we get that. Yep.
And then people might not understand the decibel, so if you compare that to something that someone would understand, or a layperson would understand, like, this is what a fan sounds like, this is how many decibels a fan is, so this is, you know, just to.
And
give them
taking
a-
into consideration the fact that you're near a highway as well.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, you're,
Ambient.
yeah, the noise level coming from the throughway is much higher than
Yeah.
what you're gonna get from these heaters, for sure.
Inevitably, that'll be what neighbors show up with, that if they, you're around one person, so.
Yeah.
Just one quick thing, this fence, the new fence that's going in, is that going to be in the same location as the existing fence? That runs out?
Except for just inside, except for this area. If we could pull all the fence posts and reinsert the fence posts, that would be probably, we're not disturbing, except for like where these trees are. These trees have beautiful pines, they're right up to the edge of the fence.
Right, so
And we don't want to cut,
yeah, we're not gonna expand the fence line. If anything, we probably bring it in.
we're retracting a little bit.
Correct.
You really can't take the new one down and then build. You can take the old one down and then build it.
Is, maybe the only question I really have is, any preference on colors? Right now, our materials, are assuming we're going to use Arctic white. It matches the existing structure that we're taking down, but since we are raising.
You're talking about the structure now.
Yep. It's a new barn.
Yeah, the regulator building.
So all five structures here are all white.
Yeah.
So if you'd like us to keep everything Arctic white, that's what we currently have in our design plans.
Well-
It matches the National Field buildings, which aren't being touched.
Okay.
So the option would be to do a color.
What's tri-line that here? It looks like kind of.
It's a string beige with a.
Yeah.
Like the tan with a.
That's what I prefer. It's up to me.
You're sounding like an object.
We built a lot of those. I don't know, but we built them all over.
I can't take care of the.
We built them all over.
It's a.
I mean, they could.
I have a preference. I mean, we have installed 100 or more buildings just in that configuration, those colors with the green roof, the beige with the green roof, but really it's up to the.
Yeah, something like this looks a lot lighter than Arctic white.
Then there's just a question for, it'll mismatch the other building.
That's correct, yeah, that's-
He's gonna be looking at the building because they're all gonna be looking at this. Yeah, so I don't think it matters.
So,
This operation, who works on it, making this change? Do you have subcontractors that come in? Are they employees?
yeah, well, we have an RFP for construction
Oh, for
that's
construction.
out for bid right now. Yep. And there's a handful of
qualified contractors that can work on gas infrastructure, right? They have to be, have certain
So
qualifications.
it's
and-
not the guy down the block taking the building down.
That's correct.
Right.
No, these are,
We have, NGA,
yeah,
National Association of Operator Qualifications for covered tasks, so, yeah, there's.
Frank Lil get involved in this, you know what that means?
yeah, I know
No,
Frank
I
Lill,
know
he would have been on something like this, Power Construction Group. DDF Construction, those type of companies. They work on a lot of our infrastructure. Who's that?
You know,
That's that awful.
Yeah, that's
all the wells will be inspected by a third party. We're gonna put more pressure tests on the pipe, so, everything's gonna be to code. There's, the quality will be top of line, so we're not concerned with that.
The whole series of new laws coming out for the, called the mega rule, where all the documents for the station are TBC traceable, verifiable, and complete. So when we're done, there'll be.
I'll have a pile of paperwork. to do.
So, we look forward to you submitting your application and as Teresa pointed out, looking at those tanks is, and from what we can see is gonna be, people are not gonna want to look at those tanks. And so we're gonna have to have a little bit of screening and then a little bit of why there isn't as much as they think, so that we have something that we can say back to the members for the.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we replicate the barn structure, that there was a barn, and I think there's a strong feeling, especially from Corey, that if you're taking the barn out, you gotta replicate that barn someplace on the property. And because we did the same thing at Charlie, we can put all the equipment back inside, very similar barn. You need the
Okay.
same color palettes.
All right. So these are all additional things that once we look at your application, that we're able to discuss, you know what I mean? We're just bouncing stuff around now and it's great to see because it's a great visual and it gives everybody some time too before your application comes before us to kind of look at it again and think about it and.
I realize boards, you can't have more than 2 members to take a quorum, but. Or even.
You can do a site visit. You can do a site visit, you just can't.
Talk, right? You can't discuss it.
You can't engage in public bids, yeah, so.
Right.
You can
We
You
could.
can do a site visit, or if you want to keep it really safe, you can go in pairs of 2.
2 by 2.
2 by 2. So, like visit would probably be advisable. At least, no, I'm not available during the day at all, so what about Charlie's available during the day, right? You're available during the day, if to do a site visit?
Oh, yeah.
You're available, right, during the day? Yes. Teresa, how available are you?
So,
Yeah, and I'm definitely out, so, how do we want to handle that? I mean, do we want to have them set something up with, Charlie and Earl? And then the date and the time, they can let you know what the date and the time is going to be. And if you can make it, great, and if you can't, then you can't. Does that sound okay to you? I know I wasn't looking at you. I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Anytime.
Okay, anytime is good for you?
Anytime, pretty good.
Okay, and you could coordinate with Charlie and you
Yep.
guys will go out and take a look and be able to report back to us.
We're armbands or something, so I don't get a signal.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And you can buy me breakfast, Earl.
You're gonna buy breakfast.
Oh.
And we.
Doesn't have restaurants anymore.
Yes, yep, I can
Yep,
communicate amongst, yep.
Thank you very much, we appreciate that.
Just wanna walk around the site, do you wanna look inside buildings, I mean, I'm just thinking safety. I'm tired of safety.
Yeah, Steve, I'm not, walking in buildings, I think they want to see this, just the
Yeah,
site
just-
itself.
Just
In
for
relation to how high 64 is and the heaters. I think to Teresa's point, we gotta get a site.
We've been on ground before.
Just
sight line from the road. I understand what they're looking for.
I think the
I get it.
the site visit is almost more relevant to around the site than on the site itself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll say this, heading south, down 64, you don't see that. The only time you see it is when you cross the bridge heading.
heading north, right?
Is this
That's it.
secure locked up now?
What's that?
Is this locked up now?
Oh, yeah,
Okay, so we couldn't go over there and
No.
walk around inside.
yeah. Well, I-
It's
We don't
almost
turn
more
eyes.
helpful to just visit the surrounding area without having to go in, because to go in.
I would, yeah, that,
But
you can
you're,
almost
you're
park
concerned
your
about,
car on-
I know exactly what you're concerned about. You're concerned about that view looking north from the bridge. I
You
get
can
it.
almost just do a drive-by.
I get it.
think
I
that-
totally get it.
I was gonna.
I have an idea,
I mean, I
but
drive
I'm
by
not
it all
gonna
the
present
time,
it to
but
the
I
board
thought
till I
I
talk.
like
to you.
to-
Right,
Okay.
and to be honest, that would be more helpful to me after I've seen your, the heights and all that
Yeah.
stuff that you're.
Yep, I know what you're looking for.
Okay,
Very good.
Very.
yeah.
Unless anybody else feels like.
No, I mean, you guys can coordinate between the two of you if you wanna go take a walk around the outside and look and see or drive by. But you don't need to get inside.
Does somebody need to meet us?
No, we're not gonna do that now because you don't really
need to get in.
you don't really need to be inside. You really need to be outside
You wanna
looking.
call me, Earl, and
Probably whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much.
I mean, sure, I mean, you can walk around the fence, you can drive with the drive. Don't feel like that's fine. That's all. Yeah, fine.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good discussion.
And you want to start, you want to start in May is your target.
Yeah.
Your target is to start in May.
And all the draft documents prepared, you gotta get some cross sections down the road for them to use.
Yeah, the demolition, I mean, do we need,
You should
need
talk,
planning board
You should talk to
approval to
Cory.
demo the building?
I would check with Corey. Yeah, about all the codes questions you have, start there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He should have the answers for you.
Yeah, we just know we have to come before the board for the site plan approval. We didn't know if we had to go for zoning for the fencing or if that was.
Yeah, the big thing, Brendan, is if we can, let's talk with, code enforcement, because if we can get in there early. And start taking that building down, right, temporarily support some of the electrical in there and be able to take the building down prior to. Taking the station in service, that would help the timeline. But. We would still need to solve the screening issue. Right. I got it.
See you later.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been so long, I've forgotten your name. Glenn. Mr. Thornton.
It's good to be back.
Okay, so we all have the resolution to approve for approval of the mitten site plan. So. Does anybody have any questions? Do you need more time to look at it? Do you want Don to go over it? How do you feel about this?
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, maybe Glenn would like to have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe.
My place to ask questions on resolution.
Sure it is.
Because we talked about him revising the plan for the limits of tree clearing and stuff, but the resolution specifically references site plans last revised on X date, or is that why it's highlighted that would be updated?
The highlight, yeah, needs an update.
Because we will end up with another revised plan.
Yeah, that's why it's highlighted, because we want to have the right date in there.
Okay.
You can even we can even just not have the date in there, if that's
Drawings change all the time though. And,
right.
if
So what
there's-
are you saying, not reference the date?
no, I think having the date's a good idea, because if there was ever another rendition of a drawing that we
didn't know, and that was followed instead of this drawing that we wanted, that could be a problem. If
Well-
somehow those limits got changed, and we didn't know.
So my initial, or my question was, we're anticipating another drawing that we don't know the date of yet, because we asked him to revise some things. So we don't. Yes, your point is correct, that we do want to know the last date it was revised for tracking purposes, but we don't know what that will be quite yet.
Yeah. I mean, in that case, we should probably just take that out.
Could you just say in accordance with the approved site plan drawing in S1 or something?
It's already in there, yeah, condition 9.
I mean, and it'll get
Doesn't say
filed, so.
Condition 9 references what you're talking about. Okay. You see it in there?
Yeah, clarifying the limits and everything. So minor updates and no real change to the substance, but changes to visually how it looks.
Yeah, so we're not gonna have the last revised put in there. So you want to just take that out then? We don't have a date to put in there.
All right,
We don't wanna,
do you want to just say depicted on the approved site plan X1? Just,
That's all I do. It's
Yeah.
gotta have signature. on
right,
that.
so maybe just add the word approved at number 9 between,
well, I already say which limits shall be clarified as set forth with planning board meeting. Okay, let's. Yeah, I'll pick up the revised reference and then. About which limits shall be clarified on site plan S1. As set forth in the planning board meeting.
I think.
This is a condition that needs to be satisfied before the plan is signed, so.
I think if you get the word approved in there, that would be, because that kind of dates it. According to, this meeting. I would think the word approved should be in there somewhere.
And approved site plan, that's one.
Yeah.
But it's
unlike
not
right here.
approved until this resolution's adopted. We got a timing problem.
Yeah, we met when it's signed. The site plan is actually signed.
This site plan is not gonna be signed until this condition is met. In other words, 9 says.
Oh, I see
I'm not
what you're
signing-
saying.
Yeah.
Right, I see what you're saying.
So I think it works the way that it
You
is.
see what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
It says that you're not, it has to meet your satisfaction.
Mhm.
That's one does.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna, put a note right on here. I'm approving. Check date. S1.
Okay, I made those changes.
Number 4, what are you saying in number 4? Does that easement need to be filed before the plans can be signed or just approved by the town attorney?
Well, I think it needs to definitely be approved as to form.
Okay, it gets cumbersome if we try to file it before the subdivision is filed. Because then
I think
easement is from,
I will defer to the town attorney,
oh,
since he's gonna be reviewing his condition anyway, so, I mean, I think it says what it intends to say. The way that it's written. And so we'll leave it to that, to the town attorney's discretion.
It does.
there ain't no issues with it.
Okay. How about
I'm
everybody
too
else?
tired.
Well, that's not, I know, but we can't be approving things because we're tired. So would anybody else, does anybody else have any questions or comments on this resolution? Everyone's comfortable with it? someone like to make a motion that we, approve the, Minton site plan based on the, resolution that has just recently been provided to us? Yes.
Why are you looking at me though?
Okay, okay, I won't look at you. I don't know. You're the handsome one. Don't feel bad. I just. Okay, would someone like to make a resolution or a motion on this side too? And what I just
So
said?
moved.
Yes, okay, Charlie, and, would anyone on this side like to make a motion or the second it? Oh, you want to second it? Okay, everyone in favor? Aye, any opposed? All right.
I didn't hear eyes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Raise your hands.
Thank you.
Turn away for a
They
second.
did.
And
I feel like I'm slowly moving things out too.
so then we have any upcoming meeting information that comes up right now?
We just received application today that you have in front of you,
Yeah, for Cowley.
for Cowley.
Okay,
Yeah,
and that's going to be for February?
February 15th.
February 15th, not for
Sorry.
February 5th.
Correct. Yep.
So we are
February 19th, not 15th.
19th.
Today's the
So
15th.
right now, there is no meeting on February 5th.
There is not, unless
Okay.
Wallman's
Okay.
can provide what they need to prior to
They
that.
can-
Weren't they trying to get to the zoning board first though?
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So they're not gonna meet. So
Okay,
as of right now, there's no meeting on
Yep.
February 5th.
perfect.
The next meeting's February 19th.
Anybody else want to bring up anything for, a general discussion? No? Would you like to make, someone like to make a motion that we, adjourn this planning board meeting? Teresa? Second? Charlie, all in favor? Aye. We're done.